Welcome to the Modern Medicine Movement Podcast. Let's go. What's up, guys? Super pumped, super grateful to be here with you. Dr. Thomas Hemingway here. What a beautiful day. Oh my gosh, it's a crazy day. It's like cold outside, and yet I'm feeling the sunshine on my toes through the window. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's lovely. Gosh, it's like schizophrenic over here right now in the mountains of Utah, where I am at the moment. Just got back from being in Hawaii Nei, and going to be here a little bit and then back again to Hawaii Nei in a couple of weeks. It's been awesome. Got to spend some time with family and friends, and spend some time with my mom and my dad, and it's been really great. So I hope you guys are doing well. Gosh, one day it's like spring and, t-shirt and shorts, board shorts weather, and the next day it's like -10. So it's been funky. Keeps you on your toes, which is kind of like what my career has been like, as I had spent over 20 years in hospitals and emergency rooms as a board certified emergency physician for many years, and you never know what's coming in next, coming through that door. It's always a surprise. It's awesome, as is life. It's just, you never know quite what you're going to get, and as long as you're prepared and you're high energy and you're happy and you're fulfilled and you're sharing and you're doing what you love, it's all good. Life is good. There's always plenty of weirdness and chaos in the world, as there is present day. But, if you just walk outside, get a little nature, a little deep breathing, a little fresh air, it's amazing how quickly your focus, your energy, your vision of the future can change. It's the simple things. That's what I've always believed, the small and simple things. So super pumped, guys. Another episode to share with you. I'm going to share about one of my favorite topics, and it's actually a pretty huge topic, entire books and just lots of data on this topic. And I'll probably break it down into 2 episodes, just because I don't want to go on for 2 hours on this right now. I'll probably break it down for you guys, but I'm going to send you home with some amazing takeaways on how you can just vitalize your life, increase your energy, your chutzpah, your oomph, your passion, and your physical strength and energy and mental focus through some simple, easy, and pretty much all free steps that I'm going to share with you. That's what I love about the science and the data, is most of these things that I will share are indeed backed by science, but are also things that you can easily do, easily incorporate, easily add to your daily regime with no cost. So I just think that's so awesome. I can't wait to get into that. Before I do, I just want to get you pumped up, get you excited for my upcoming book, Preventable. It's coming out soon. It's in the final editing phases, and hoping to get this out to you in the next couple of months. So if you haven't already heard about it and you want to get all the updates, hop on over to my website, modernmedicinemovement.com. Scroll down, sign up for my weekly newsletter, where I will give you free and powerful health pearls and tips and tricks, things that you can apply readily to your life. You'll also get, the updates on how the book's coming along, my new courses, which are coming out almost every week now. We have just some amazing content to share with you guys. Super pumped. We have a course on how to optimize the stress in your life. It's just such a cool course for this present day, because stress is one of those things it seems like we just can't get away from. It's been peaking, it's been surmounting, it's been huge, it's been elevating in all of our lives the last couple of years with the pandemic, and just, it's crazy. It affects so many different aspects of our life, but there is a silver lining. There is a way that you can optimize it, that you can use it for growth, for development, for potential, for positivity. I know traditionally we don't view it that way, but there is a way, and I'll get down into it in that course with you, share it with you, help you to optimize the stress in your life, because we're all going to have it. 80 to 90% of us these current years have been experiencing significant stress. So there is a better way to be able to overcome and empower ourselves and truly make this active, effective, growth promoting, and productive in our lives. There's a way to do that, and I will share that with you. So you can hop on over there to my website, modernmedicinemovement.com, and scroll down for my new stress course. It's super affordable, less than a couple of Starbucks coffees, less than a tank of gas. I mean, it's super powerful stuff. And then my next course, which will be released real soon, hopefully within a couple of days, will be my course on energy and metabolism. It's a 30-day metabolic reset, which I've been working on for a long time. It's got tons of information, and it's broken down simply, practically. You're going to love it. Just how to get more energy and just thrive in your life, not simply survive. So can't wait to get that out for you. Also, in the next month, we're going to be releasing our brand new members-only VIP group, Thrive with Dr. Thomas. I'm going to be releasing that real soon within the next couple of weeks, where you can be a member of our special VIP community, where you will get access to me every week through my office hours, through my shares in the group. I'll be going live on Zoom for you guys at least once a month on super important topics that you guys will help me choose. You guys will share your questions. I will answer you both live and through the different channels that we will have in the group to share. It's going to be awesome. Thrive with Dr. Thomas, our new group, is coming out real soon, so be looking for that in my newsletter on my website. Also, if you haven't got access to the great event I was part of just a month ago in Scottsdale, Arizona, the Align Ambition event, I was a keynote speaker there. I shared with many of you how to thrive in your life, not simply survive. I gave a keynote talk on that. It was awesome. It was so fun to see you guys. I stood in the back and answered questions for several hours, and that just lit me up. So thankful for you guys who came, who were there, who interacted and shared with me. It was amazing. It was great. I actually just watched the replay again. I've watched it a couple of times now, and there's so much good stuff in there from just so many amazing speakers: Amberly Lago, Patrice Washington, Heidi Powell, the Mr. Dave Hollis, my wife Brooke, Tiffany Peterson, so many amazing people. Jasmine Starr was there, and all this is recorded. You get access to the whole event for a super low price, and if you act quickly, you can also get the workbook, and we will send it out to you. My son will get that out to you within a couple of days, and you'll be pumped. So hopefully you can grab that soon, because the workbooks will sell out, but they will be included with your purchase. If you can get on it pretty quickly, go to AlignEventsLive.com and check that out. It's awesome. And hey, before I get into this show, I just wanted to share with you guys one of my recent reviews. I just love these things. Please shout me out on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, Google, wherever you listen to your podcast, and write a review, because this is how the word spreads. This is how we can share this with more people, because this is powerful information that can literally change the world one person at a time. But if we don't share it, people just won't know. And so just want to share this. Just came in a couple of days ago from Meredith Rose, 5-star review entitled, "I Can't Get Enough." And she states, "Dr. Hemingway is my new favorite to listen to. As a fellow science nerd about all the research, I'm a doctor of physical therapy. I appreciate the angle and spin he takes on more natural approaches to health. With everyone putting out information on what is best for your health and spouting off their, quote, opinion, it's refreshing to hear from a true expert who is spouting off the truth that is backed by research. To be honest, I don't have the time to do all my research myself, so I look to experts like Dr. Hemingway to help fill in the gaps where I simply can't do it all. Every medical professional needs to listen to this podcast to find out how much they can be doing for their patients to truly heal from diseases, instead of continuing to just manage the symptoms of the disease with pharmaceuticals. I fully believe in the power of whole person, holistic health, which is why I share this information and podcast with my patients. Please keep dropping knowledge bombs on us so that we can help as many people as possible. Thank you. Oh my gosh, so amazing. Miss Meredith for sharing that. She's a doctor of physical therapy. She shares this with her patients. What a treat, what a blessing. So grateful I can be a part of that. I certainly do pride myself in doing the research, doing my homework, and really just stating what the studies show. I'm just not up here on my soapbox saying whatever. I mean, this is stuff that's actually been studied, looked at, evaluated, and I love to share that with you guys. So thank you again, Meredith. If you guys haven't done a review, just hop on over there to Apple Podcasts or wherever you go, Spotify, Google, and scroll down to where you see those 5 stars. Click on the one farthest to the right and write a review. Just tell me what you love and tell me what you've appreciated. Tell me what you've learned. It's just amazing. I just can't get enough of that. I read every single one. Who knows? You may get shouted out like Meredith was just now on an upcoming show. I would love, love, love to do that for you. So anyway, without further ado, I'm so pumped. I really want to get into this week's episode, which is going to be something that I think we can all truly benefit from: how to get more energy, more vitality in our lives, how we can thrive, not just simply survive. I know for me, I'll be honest, as a medical professional, undergoing 12 years of training, I oftentimes was in survival mode and I wasn't doing all the things that I now do. I didn't know, most of the teaching I got, specifically with respect to nutrition and health and things, a lot of it was really dated, which unfortunately that trend still continues. So it wasn't necessarily the most cutting edge stuff that was out there with respect to the nutrition information I got in medical school and things like that. And so I've just really, really thoroughly enjoyed researching, studying the last couple of decades, these things, so I can not only be on my game, because you guys know, like I'm a busy guy. I got 6 kids and they are from very young to still pretty young. My oldest is starting to drive now. He'll be turning 16 soon. It's just, oh my gosh, it's blowing my mind. He's actually set up to graduate from high school in a couple of months. He's been going to college already. He's already looking at, what he's going to be doing long-term in his career. And it's just amazing things. The time flies and I got to keep up with him, my other teenagers. And then I got a little sweet 4-year-old who just crushes it each and every day and is bouncing off the walls. You guys have probably seen her in many of my wife's Instagram stories, where she's dancing, rocking out to music, and like to try to keep up with her, like literally just full of energy 24/7. Like that's my dream, is to be like her. And so I've learned a couple of things along the way, and I want to share them with you because they are simple, they are practical, and they are easy. And so we'll get into it right now with number 1. Drink more water. Hydrate yourself. Drink more. Hydration is so key. I drink between 2 and 3 liters of water or fluids a day. And this is primarily water. Right now you can see I'm drinking a pink drink. If you're watching on YouTube, I also drink a green drink. Those also count for hydration because they have nothing but the good stuff. If you were drinking just like a caffeinated, soda or tea or coffee or alcohol, heaven forbid you're drinking a lot of that, all those things oftentimes can dehydrate you. The alcohol can do that. Caffeine can do that. A lot of these sugary drinks, which are obviously not good for us. We'll talk about sugar a little bit later in the show today because it's one of those things that literally zaps you of energy. Like legit, you might feel energized for 15, 20, 30 minutes, maybe an hour if you're super lucky, and then you'll just crash land and usually be even lower in energy than when you reach for that potential sugary treat. Like I used to, you guys know this, I've shared about it before. I used to love Snickers bars. And I thought, just like the commercial says, they really satisfy. Well, for about 10 or 15 minutes, right? And then you crash and burn afterwards. I don't eat Snickers bars anymore. And my wife's smarter than that. She used to buy them for me all my birthdays and Christmases. And then when she saw they would sit in a backpack for 6 or 12 months till the next Christmas or birthday, she decided, well, maybe he doesn't like those anymore. But anyway, hydration is so important. Between 60 and 70% of our entire body is water, of our body weight, and it's found in our entire body from our brain. Our brain is actually mostly water, 60 to 70% water. Obviously our blood volume is water. That's a couple of liters there. All of our organs have water. Like we are primarily water in our bodies. It's so important. And if we get off by just a little bit, as little as 5% dehydrated, which is something super easy that can happen. It's happened to me, and it happens to me is if I'm not thinking about it all the time, Especially now, we're getting through the winter, getting into spring, and then summer. It's going to be hot. We're going to lose a bunch of water through the insensible losses just through our skin, perspiration, just breathing, depending on where we are in the world. If we're in a dry climate, just moistening that air that we breathe requires a lot of water and hydration. And if we don't stay on top of it, we will get dehydrated. And the studies show that the average adult, man or woman, should drink between 2 and 3 liters of water a day to stay optimally hydrated. That's quite a bit. Like, imagine yourself just carrying around a 2-liter bottle and drinking that all throughout the day. Could you finish that through the course of one day? Like, do you drink that much water? Well, you should. In fact, my ritual is that I get up in the morning and literally the first thing I do, I drink like 16 ounces of water. Just big, tall glass of water. Kind of gets me going, gets me a little boost. I may have my pink drink, my little supplement drink that I drink, pink or green or both. I may drink that a little bit later on. And I go out and do some kind of a workout, some kind of movement, activity, something like that, which I'll get into a little bit later, which also increases your energy. But right now, just simple hydration, which you can do with water and sometimes adding a little bit of pinch of salt, squeeze a little lemon or lime in there to give you maybe a little bit of flavor, a little dose of vitamin C, like a couple simple things you can do. A pinch of Celtic sea salt or Himalayan sea salt is awesome just in water. Or if you want to get fancy, there's lots of cool hydration powders you can throw in there. Many great ones out there. LMNT is great. I use a product as well, similar to that, which has, all of the important minerals in there, like potassium, sodium, calcium, like really good stuff and high quality, and doesn't have a bunch of garbage like sugars or sweeteners and things like that, like many of them have. So you got to look for the good ones, but they're definitely out there. If you want to spice it up a little bit with a little bit of, additional electrolytes, especially if you're going to be out, huffing and puffing or working outside or going for long walks, or you're just in a dry climate and you're like literally having to moisten that air all day long, having water all day and then maybe one 20-ounce bottle with some electrolytes, it can be a game changer. I know for me, it's really helped me. If you want to know exactly which one I take, reach out to me, modernmedicinemovement.com. Or my email is modernmedicinemovementpodcast@gmail.com. Talk about that. But like I said, the research shows that as little as 5% dehydration can affect your performance by 25 to 30%. And this is both physical performance, how well you can utilize your body, your muscles, to go out and perform whatever activities you need to do, whether it be a workout or if you have to work outside or manually, or you're walking a lot or whatever it is, like 25 to 30%, your performance can drop if you are as little as 5% dehydrated. Like, that's huge. This has been shown not only with sort of physical peak athletic type performance, but also with neurocognitive or brain performance. And you guys have all noticed this, if you've been kind of sitting at your desk, you've been working hard, you've been straining, and you haven't had a sip of water, or you haven't gotten out of your chair to, just do a couple quick squats or lunges, or just bounce around a little bit. Or you guys know I keep some dumbbells next to my desk, and I can just do some quick free weights. I often use either a standing desk or just a countertop. Like right now, I'm literally just podcasting standing at a dresser because I prefer to stand and move and get my body going rather than just sitting in a chair, because you know how they say the sitting, I guess many say the sitting is the new smoking. And they say that because sitting has been directly correlated with adverse health outcomes. The more you sit, like the sooner you die, like legit. Like if you have to sit at an office job 8 to 10 hours a day, like your health is going to suffer a little bit. And there are simple things you can do. I'm not saying that everybody can get a standing desk, but I would encourage as many of you who can to go out and do that. And if you can't, just get up every 45 minutes or so. Studies show that between 45 to 50 minutes, if you get up and just move your body for 1 or 2 minutes, once an hour, like it's literally life-changing. Not only in the moment will you get more energy and get pepped up and be more awake and enlivened, but actually it's super healthful as well, super helpful. So fluids, drink more fluids. The other cool thing about drinking fluids, and this has been well published, there's a study I'm very familiar with from the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism, which showed that just as little as a half a liter of water, this is like 17, 18 ounces of water, can actually boost, it can increase your metabolic rate. This is called the thermogenic effect of water. And as sort of a double cool, increase in your metabolism, if you like me, for some reason, I've always enjoyed ice water, whether or not it's hot outside, cold outside. I don't know. I just always like ice water. I just love it. I just think feels good going down. And that can pep it up maybe a little bit more because you actually will have to use or expend some energy to heat that up. So you can amp up your metabolism very simply with just drinking half a liter or 17 ounces of water. And that's been shown in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology to increase our metabolic rate by as much as 30%. 30%. So remember how you could drop your performance, both mentally, physically, by as much as 25 or 30% by being dehydrated, only 5% dehydrated. Well, you can boost your metabolic rate by as much as 30% with a big, tall glass of water, 16, 17 ounces of water. So super cool, called the thermogenic effect of water. I think it's so awesome. So remember, guys, the bare minimum, just absolute bare minimum, I would say would be half of your body weight in ounces each day. So I'm 150 pounds. I got to drink at least 75 ounces. That's for the bare minimum. That's like if I don't do anything exertional, I'm not doing exercise, I'm not getting up and moving and exercising and walking and snowboarding and surfing and hiking and mountain biking and all these things I love to do. If I'm just literally mostly in my desk or doing around the house stuff, like that's the bare minimum, half your body weight in ounces. But I would say we need more than that. We need about 1.5 times that. So shoot for, roughly your body weight in ounces minus 20 or 30%. And that should be a better figure. And the new data suggests that. It suggests that between 2 and 3 liters of water per day, 2 most women, closer to 3 most dudes, is about your requirement daily. So I'm not saying you got to have a 2-liter bottle. Those are kind of big and cumbersome. I just have all around the house. You guys have probably seen these nice little shaker bottles. I love them because I can throw in there my green drink or my pink drink or whatever. And those I think are about 20. What is it? Oh, actually, how perfect. This one, Win Full, just a standard size bottle right here, Win Full. This is literally half a liter, 500 cc. So that can amp up my metabolic rate by 30% right there, just drinking that thing. So try to do that and try to start your day that way, like tall glass, 30, I would say in the morning, 20 ounces or so of water just right off the bat, and that can kind of get you going. I purposely, and I think most of us, especially dudes, as we get a little older, we maybe try to not drink so much water at bedtime because then you gotta interrupt your awesome sleep with a trip to the bathroom. So I try to not drink a lot of water right before bed, but then when I wake up in the morning, I'm obviously going to be a little dehydrated because hopefully it's been 7 or maybe 8 hours I've been in bed without hydration, that I'm going to need to make up for that and just drink this big, tall glass of water to hydrate myself. And there's actually some cool ancient traditions that come from those that practice Ayurveda that talk about this, about drinking a bunch of water in the morning, like right away when you first wake up, because it's, not only healthful to rejuvenate, revitalize, to hydrate, because we've gotten dehydrated overnight, but also having the fluid in us will help sort of flush the toxins, right? So we can do the 3 Ps, right? So important that we do the 3 Ps. We got to go pee, we got to poop, and perspire, because those are the 3 primary ways that we can get rid of toxins. If we're properly hydrated, we can do all of these things much better. So without belaboring the hydration point too much more, it's just, I really wanted to focus a little bit about that because it's so essential. And when we don't, we notice, kind of the beginnings of a lot of these kind of tension type headaches that many of us will get are from dehydration. Oftentimes we can get headaches from dehydration. We can start to feel a little slow, a little sluggish, during the day. And most of that is just a little dehydration. So if we just take a, sip of water all throughout the day and we pound our, 2 to 3 liters throughout the whole day, that's about how much we put down. That's going to be amazing. Like getting up and moving our bodies once every 45 minutes or so, drinking water, or we can add some electrolytes. That is going to be a true game changer. Like these symptoms we often get of just that low energy, the sluggish mood, a little bit of headaches, just not quite as sharp as we want to be, like that can literally be dehydration. And remember, as little as 5% can decrease our exercise performance and cognition, our mental focus by as much as 25 to 30%. So we don't want to mess with that. We literally want to be able to be at our peak state, like Tony Robbins says, get in your peak state. You're up, you're moving, you're jumping around. He's always telling us, go get a sip of water. I couldn't agree more. So important. Hydration is so key. In fact, in my book, I just couldn't help myself. I had to include a chapter on hydration. I just think it's so important. And it's free. Like pour yourself a big tall glass of water every couple hours and drink the whole thing, and start your day with your good solid 20 ounces or so, and attempt to drink approximately 2 liters of water a day, and you are going to be pumped. You're going to be sharp. You're going to be focused. You're going to be more energized. And oh my gosh. The other cool thing, which I didn't mention yet this show, is that oftentimes throughout the day, one of the things we think that we need is a snack. Maybe we had our meal 4 or 5 hours ago, and we're like, or maybe it was just 2 or 3 hours ago, and we're like, I'm getting a little sluggish. I'm getting a little slow. I could use a little pick-me-up. And we're thinking, maybe like I used to, go grab the Snickers bar or the trail mix or the whatever, the scone, the donut, the muffin, or I don't know what. Hopefully not any of those things. But when we think about reaching for a snack because we think we're hungry, many times it's actually thirst that our body is experiencing. And these two signals in the brain, thirst and hunger, can often be misinterpreted. So what I would encourage you to do, and one of the things I'll talk about a lot in the 30-day metabolic reset, is to really clean up, to get our metabolism working best. One of the things that we need to learn to do is to stop the snacking. Like snacking is not awesome. Like literally, if you think about it right now, present day 2022, most of us, the data shows that we're eating every waking hour. So 24 in a day, maybe we're asleep for 8, we're eating 16 hours a day, which is not good. We're never giving our body a break. So next time you feel hungry, maybe you're between meals or something, try just drinking a full glass of water and see 15, 20 minutes after that, see if your hunger goes away. It may, because often those cues, those signals from the hypothalamus of the brain get misinterpreted. We think we're hungry and we're just thirsty. So that can be a true game changer. I know it has for me. We'll talk a little bit more about that later when we talk about the food, but hydrating ourselves is so critical that we can't perform at our best unless we are well hydrated. And so just think about that. Think about how simple that is. It's free. When we don't do it well, we know what happens, right? We're like feeling sluggish. We're feeling a little brain fog. We're feeling less sharp. We're feeling less energetic. All these kind of things that could easily be improved by good, proper hydration. So game changer for me, strive to drink your 2 to 3 liters a day, and it can be a game changer. So after hydration, the next thing I want to talk about, which can potentially be simple, yet it's a super complicated topic in and of itself, is food. Food is obviously essential. We can't live our lives and never eat food. We have to eat food. But actually, I mentioned this after hydration because we can actually go days, sometimes even weeks or months without food, but we can't go more than probably 2 days without water. So hydration, first and foremost, free, it's easy. Stay on top of your game, stay energized with good quality hydration, and then pay attention to the food you eat because it can either energize you or it can completely sabotage you where it zaps you of energy, and you get to decide that. based on what you put into your mouth. It's so cool because it's so simple, yet it is so powerful. And I can't wait to share a couple of studies with you because I think we've all experienced this, right? If we make the not best, food choices, let's say, just think about the traditional once a year, a couple times a year event where we have either a Thanksgiving or a Christmas dinner and we just eat turkey and potatoes and stuffing and like all these carbs and just heavy foods. And, just we pound our bodies with all this stuff. Like 30 minutes later, what do we want to do? We want to go check out, right? We want to go into our food coma, our Polynesian paralysis, as we call it in Hawaii. Like we are literally zapped of energy after we eat. And it doesn't have to be that way, right? Like we're supposed to get energy from food, right? Well, what's interesting is that one of the biggest consumers of energy in our body is actually the work of digestion. So we actually utilize a lot of energy to break down our food. You guys have probably heard of the difference between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. So the sympathetic is that one that gets us all amped up to run away from the tiger. And when that's on, we are not doing any digestion because that would be super counterproductive. When we do digestion, that's part of the sort of rest, I'm using air quotes here on YouTube, rest and digest nervous system, which is responsible for processing and digesting our food, which requires loads of energy. That's the parasympathetic nervous system. Tons of energy is required. And actually, there's a whole shift of the blood flow. Those who know anatomy will know the splanchnic circulation that goes through the liver and the intestines, all the blood flow that's going through there during digestion. It's literally stealing from your other organs, your muscles and things. That's why you can't really operate both efficiently. So if you do this like big turkey dinner, or whatever, big meal of any kind, and then you want to go out and be peak performance in some sport or activity or marathon or race or just a long walk or a hike in mountains, like it just doesn't work that well because your body is getting these mixed signals. It's like, crap, I'm trying to shunt some oxygen and blood flow to the muscles so they can move and do their thing. But at the same time, I need to shunt some energy to the stomach to process all that food that they just ate. And so it doesn't really work that well. And especially if we don't choose wisely what we put into our mouths and we're eating highly processed, industrialized foods that are simple, carbohydrates, grains, that sort of stuff, sugars, especially anything with high fructose corn syrup or added sugar. These things are like the energy sumps, like they steal it away. Like I mentioned at the outset, we might get a couple minutes, 15, 20, 30, maybe an hour if we're lucky, of energy after eating some kind of sweet treat or Snickers bar or whatever. And then literally what happens is we eat these things, usually highly processed foods, anything that comes with a label or in a package. And after we eat it, what happens? Our blood sugar goes up. So momentarily we have, sugar, which is substrate for energy floating around. And then the body says, oh crap, we can't let that blood sugar get too high because it's dangerous. You can die from that. This thing called ketoacidosis, diabetic ketoacidosis, an elevated blood sugar, hyperglycemia. When it goes up too high, it can literally wreak havoc. It sticks to everything. It can stick to your blood vessels, stick to your blood cells. It sticks to every place in your body, including the collagen. And it just makes it kind of like friable and just not elastic. And these are I'll get off topic just for a second, but your blood vessels, one of the best measures of your age is how responsive they are, how supple and reactive and elastic they are. And those people that eat a lot of sugar or processed foods tend to have insulin resistance because insulin's going up all the time to combat this high blood sugar, to try to bring it down. And in so doing, the body gets used to having these elevated insulin levels all the time and becomes insulin resistant. And that has been shown to cause hardening of the arteries, less elasticity, because the glucose that's up all the time, for which the insulin comes up to bring it down, it sticks to everything. You guys have heard of hemoglobin A1C, which, it's coming to be a super common test to look at what our blood sugar has been like over the last 3 months. But that's as a result of this problem of glycation. Glycation is the sugar sticking to things where it's not supposed to be sticking to. You're not supposed to have a bunch of sugar stuck to your red blood cells. But when you do, that's what causes an elevated hemoglobin A1C, which is not good because when it's sticking there, it's sticking to everything else. It's sticking in the kidneys, it's sticking in the blood vessels, in the collagen, in the elastic tissue, and it's making it kind of brittle, right? If you put a sugary soda on something and then you go put it out in the sun, what happens? It gets kind of sticky and brittle. Guys, shout out to all you guys who used to get peanut brittle from your grandmothers. Mine used to make it, and I used to think that was a health food because, you know, it had a bunch of peanuts in it. It's got to be a health food, right? Like, not so fast, Grandma. That was full of sugar. Anyway, I don't eat that anymore, but that stickiness wreaks havoc on the body, on the blood vessels, makes them stiff. That's what makes it more likely that you'll have clots there later because things aren't flowing freely and smoothly. And with the vessels being elastic as they're supposed to be, they actually have muscle in them called smooth muscle. And when that's all full of glycation or these sugary end products, you're not in a good place. So one of the best ways to get a handle on that is to decrease the sugars in our diet, especially processed sugars and sweets and flours and, you know, really anything that comes in a package with a label, things that are grain-based that have lots of gluten and processed sugars. Not awesome. Now, I'm not going to say get on a, you know, I'm not going to say I never eat gluten. Like, I eat very little gluten, but I'm not 100% gluten-free. I'm mostly gluten-free. And my sort of rule of thumb is if it comes from nature, if it comes from the ground or the earth or is living, then for the most part, I can eat that. So if it comes from God or nature or was living at some point, that's a much better option than something that comes from a factory, something that's been highly processed, okay? Because unfortunately, up to 60% of our Western diet, the so-called SAD diet, the standard American diet, is processed or actually highly processed food. And I kind of joke about this because, you know, people call it processed food. I like to call it a food-like substance because most of these are so highly processed, like it doesn't really even resemble the food that we've been eating for thousands and thousands of years. You know, way back when they first started harvesting wheat, for example, the wheat that they harvested thousands of years ago was nothing like the wheat that we harvest now that's been completely obliterated, adulterated, smashed, crushed, processed, highly, you know, refined in factories, and literally spikes our blood sugar in minutes. You know, it's like what's called the glycemic index of like white bread is basically the same as glucose. It's like 100, you know, it's through the roof, you know, because it's so highly processed, small, tiny little particles, which have their effects nearly immediately. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit off topic, but food can be one of the most important decisions we make with respect to our energy. So if you just think to a simple principle, strive to eat whole, natural, from the earth foods that come from God, nature, the earth, not from a factory, you'll be in really good shape. That's because even if you are eating some sweet natural foods like berries, like I love strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, I mean, you name it. Berries are awesome and they're sweet, but they also come with a lot of other cool phytonutrients, which are healthful, like antioxidants, vitamin C, all kinds of cool things that are helpful to our bodies. And they also come with fiber. So it's not the same as eating like a whole apple, you know, that we picked off a tree in our own yard versus apple juice, which hardly has any resemblance of that apple that we might have picked. In Hawaii, we have these natural, we call them mountain apples. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen them, but they are tiny. Like, I'm going to show you this little thing here. This is my daughter's little thing here, but it's probably, you know, 1.5 inches across. That's how big a mountain apple is. And if you go to the store and you buy, you know, some off the shelf Golden Delicious or whatever, those things are giant. They could be 4 or 5 inches across. And those aren't going to be as high quality as a natural apple that's just been grown out in nature. You know, so shoot for, if you can, when you're buying produce, whatever is close to home and natural. Hopefully an organic farm is better than not. If you can't, in one foul swoop, get rid of all the non-organic stuff, go to the ewg.org site. They have a list of the fruits and vegetables that you really, 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 really want to try to eat organic. Those are things like berries and such, which if you don't get organic and they're sprayed with pesticides, it's like next to impossible to get rid of all them, even with heavy, good washing, right? But if you're going to peel the thing and get rid of the skin, like an avocado, for example, you can scoop out the insides and not worry as much about the skin and so on. So if you want to save a little money, you can eat things like avocados that are non-organic. I mean, ultimately, it'd be nice if we all shot for just buying organic foods, because things would have to change. If the demand for non-organic stuff went way down, then the demand for organic went way up. We would start to see way more organic stuff out there, and it would be more affordable and reasonably priced. But anyway, stick to that rule. Nature, number one. Foods from nature, highest priority. So it's the quality of our food. And what I'll get into just in a moment is the timing of our food, because that's another way we can get a whole bunch of energy. It's just an awesome, awesome topic, which at first seems a little bit counterintuitive. But before I get there, I just wanted to share with you this study. It's super interesting. It's entitled, where did it go here? Well, I have a couple of them, but the one that I'm first going to share with you, I think even the title is kind of funny. It says, it's from the journal Nutrients 2019, October 11th. It says, the title is Association Between Macronutrient Intake and Excessive Daytime Sleepiness. Excessive daytime sleepiness. And the bottom line, what they found out, which is not surprising, I don't think, is that the prevalence of the daytime sleepiness, or what they called EDS, excessive daytime sleepiness, was higher in the groups of people that had a primarily carbohydrate-rich and processed foods diet. And this, I don't think it tells us anything that we haven't experienced. We all know that if we eat a big meal, like a big giant bowl of pasta or a bunch of potatoes at Thanksgiving or whatever, like legit, we're like looking for a couch or someplace, carpeted floor to lay down afterwards, because it just zaps us of energy and we get tired. Well, this is science. This has been shown. So this is a cool article. There's another one that I thought was interesting called Subjective Mood and Energy Levels of Healthy Weight and Overweight Obese Healthy Adults on High and Low Glycemic Diets. And this was from the journal Appetite in 2016, December 1st. And they talk about an association of diet as well as obesity with depression. And what they found is that foods with a high glycemic load, so in other words, these refined, processed, industrialized foods like the grains, the flours, the breads, the crackers, the chips, the cookies, the pastas, a lot of these things that come with a high glycemic index tended to not only increase things like being overweight or being obese, but also affected mood, which I thought was very interesting. I'll just read you. It says the consumption of the high glycemic diet resulted in a 38% higher score for depressive symptoms compared to the low glycemic diet, and 55% higher score for the total mood disturbance scale, and a 26% higher score for fatigue. Whew, so that was a lot. So these high glycemic foods, which is basically the processed foods, not only made people gain weight and become more obese, but they decreased their mood, even caused depression in some, and decreased their energy. They made them more tired. So I thought that was quite interesting. I didn't find it earth-shattering or surprising, because this is what I've also experienced. And one more I wanted to share. That one was from Appetite. This one is from Popular Health Metrics 2017. It says the share of ultra-processed foods and the overall nutritional quality of diets in the U.S. and evidence from a cross-sectional study. So they looked at 9,000 people throughout the NHANES database, and they looked at the different types of foods, processed foods, ultra-processed foods, and guess what? Another not, I don't feel earth-shattering thing they found out is that the higher the content of processed foods that people ate, the lower amount of nutrients they were getting. So although it says, let me just read it. It says that the average content of protein, fiber, vitamins A, C, D, and E, as well as zinc, potassium, phosphorus, magnesium, and calcium, went down significantly with the energy contribution of the ultra-processed foods with carbohydrates, added sugars, saturated fat. As those increased, the vitamins or nutrients decreased. So in other words, the more processed foods these people ate, the lower the nutrient value, which I don't think should be much a surprise, right? This is the curse, modern day curse, really, that not only us in the Western world, but throughout the world. It used to be that starvation was on the top WHO's list of health problems, and now obesity has surpassed starvation. And this is worldwide. This is crazy because now we are becoming so accustomed to eating these highly processed foods that we are gaining weight, becoming obese, and being overfed, but undernourished, overfed and undernourished. So this is just another reflection of that in this latest article. So food is medicine, not just food as medicine, but food is the best and most frequent and most important medicine we could ever take, up to 3 meals a day, what have you. And the quality matters. Quality matters. And if we were to avoid the highly processed foods, especially the sugars, you and I and we will be, I think, astonished at how much more energy we can have by eliminating the sugars, especially the highly processed ones, from our diet. We will have much better energy because there are much better fuel sources. And I'm so passionate about this, not only because I've experienced it, I've written about it, I've researched it a ton. I wrote a whole book about this, and I have a course dedicated to this on the metabolic reset. I hope you'll get, should be available very soon. I explain all about these mighty mitochondria, which are in our cells of basically every living cell, for the most part of our bodies. There can be up to several thousand of them per cell. They make all of the energy that we've ever had, that we've ever used, that we'll ever need. And we need to take care of them. And what throws a literal wrench in this machinery are these highly processed foods, especially the sugars, grains, carbs that come in a package with a label that we used to think were health foods, right? Remember those Nutri-Grain bars, and like I like to allude to the Snickers bars and all that? Like we used to think those were health foods or power bars, and they're full of highly processed carbs, which are not good. They burn very dirty. They cause a lot of soot and smoke and damage or free radical formation, the so-called reactive oxygen species, which not only cause harm to these energy factories called the mitochondria, but they cause significant body inflammation. So eliminating these from our diets can be huge, right? Can be huge. Anyway, that I have several more simple, awesome, powerful steps I'm going to share with you in the next podcast. I've already gone almost an hour here, so I don't want to get you guys off into that daytime sleepiness mode, but I'm just going to quick review what we've talked about. First and foremost was my favorite nutrient, the essential one that we must have each and every day, that we will die without. Good old-fashioned H2O, hydration. Remember that as little as 5% dehydration can cause as much as a 25 to 30% decrease in our physical performance, our intellectual, cognitive, mental performance, and it can be easily changed for free. Get yourself away, just a simple shaker bottle or whatever. This is 500 mLs right here. That's my green drink, and 500 mLs of that will boost your metabolism by 30%. And also burn a few calories as well, the thermogenic effect of water. And it'll keep your body running well, hydrated and smooth. So many awesome effects of hydration. I love talking about it because it's so important. I've found such a change in my life when I properly hydrate. And then number 2, the food that we eat, the quality of our food. And if we can stick to nature and the earth and just eat things that came from nature and the earth, whether they be plant, animal, or both, as long as they're natural, they're whole, they're not fed garbage, they're not, plants and animals can both be fed garbage, right? The plants can be fed all kinds of pesticides and whatnot, which are horrible, which wreck their microbiome and hence later our microbiome. And same thing with if we eat animal products, whether it be meats or whatever. If they're fed grains and non-species specific diets, they're going to not give us the energy nutrients that we need. So we can't be eating these poor, low quality meats that are not grass fed and finished, that are fed grains or Skittles or whatever sprinkles that they've found a lot of these companies to use to fatten up their animals, or with the seed oils. Like, hey, it's not only what my grandmother said, you are what you eat, but it's what you eat has eaten. It goes down the food chain and we are affected by it. It's important. It matters. The quality matters, and the timing matters. And I won't get too much into it right now, but this whole concept of timing of our foods that I've done whole episodes on, intermittent fasting is just one type of timing, but there's also longer fasting periods that we can do, which are super important, because remember, the amount of energy that gets expended in just digesting our food is tremendous. And especially if we're not eating the cleanest diet, the exhaust, so to speak, the byproducts, the things that come downstream after metabolizing our foods can be deleterious or damaging to our health by causing inflammation. So we got to watch what we put in first and foremost. The quality of our food matters and the timing. So I always shoot for an overnight goal of 12 to 16 hours, which is a window that I don't eat anything with calories. I try to eat my last meal finishing by 7. In the evening, sometimes if it's a weekend, it might be 8 or 9. But then I don't eat my first calories until the next day, minimum 12 hours later, but more often it's 14 or 16 hours later. So I give my body the better part, the whole night and part of the morning to kind of like flush the system, so to speak, flush the system, flush the toilet, whatever it is, just flush it, get rid of all those damaging byproducts of both metabolism and just the cellular cleanup. This is a fascinating topic called autophagy, which is the housekeeping, right, of our bodies that can't happen unless we take a break, right? You guys have heard of David Sinclair, like the longevity expert. Like if you just asked him one thing, what's the most important thing that you do that will help you to live longer and stay healthier and have more energy? I'm pretty sure he would tell you that one thing is time-restricted feeding, or basically intermittent fasting. He practices that basically nearly every day. I think he's shooting for 16 to 18 hours of not eating and then compresses his eating window to 6 to 8 hours. I do a little bit shorter than that, and I try to mix it up. I just find that I'm trying to still promote strength, and I'm trying to not lose any muscle, and I can obtain and keep that as long as I'm at least giving myself 12 hours of not eating. For me, it's usually 14 or 16, but I shoot for a minimum of 12. And then during the time that I am eating, which is 6 to 8 hours, or maybe 10 hours of eating, usually less than that. But when I am eating, I focus on the quality of my food. So what's so awesome and energizing and counterintuitive is that, and I think now you're starting to get the hang of it, when we're not eating, we can be even more energized, more sharp, more focused. And this is on purpose, right? Because thousands of years ago, when we had to hunt for our food, we had to go find our berries or dig in the ground for tubers or whatever. We always did it fasted. We didn't roll out of bed in the morning and look for the bowl of cereal or whatever. Like, it just didn't happen. We didn't look for the croissant or the bagel or the muffin or scone or whatever. Like, it wasn't there. It was never going to happen. So we got up, eyes wide open. We went out for the hunt. Might have taken us the better part of the day to find something. And then if we found an animal or the berries or whatever, then we would eat, until dark. And then once dark happened, we didn't eat until the next day. And so we were practicing this intermittent fasting or time-restricted feeding for thousands, if not millions of years. And our bodies are designed for this. And when we do that, not only can we allow for the housekeeping, the cleanup that needs to occur to get rid of all those inflammatory byproducts and kind of freshen up our bodies, get rid of the amyloid, get rid of all the precursors to things like diabetes, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, all these sort of inflammatory things that build up through the course of the day. If we take a break from eating and we allow our bodies to flush, rejuvenate, regenerate, perform the autophagy, the cleanup that they want to do, we will be so much more healthy, more energized, more focused, and it's literally life-changing. So I found that also in my life, and I practice that time-restricted feeding on most days. I try to mix it up every now and again because you don't want your body to get used to it and like think that it's always in a famine situation and then hold on to calories more strongly, and then it can be even harder to lose weight if that's what your goal is. I talk all about this, don't worry, in my course on intermittent fasting, which will hopefully be out in a couple of weeks, where I explain all the nuance to this and the excitement, the research, the different approaches. It's so awesome. So I think that's going to be it for now, guys. It's been an amazing opportunity to share some of my favorite energy boosts with hydration, with proper food selection from nature, from the ground, from the earth, as opposed to from a factory. And then just the timing of it, how we can get more energy by actually taking a break from eating. You know, get up in the morning and try a fasted workout. It doesn't have to be high intensity. It can just be going for a walk. Super recommended and okay, absolutely, to drink as much hydration as you need, even if you need to throw electrolytes in there, provided you're not throwing sugars and things like that. Like, you got to read the labels. I actually was just at the store last night and I just taken my wife to the airport. It was late. I wanted a little something to hydrate myself, and it's like low calorie, no artificial this, no artificial that. And I read and I actually get into the ingredients. I'm like, oh my gosh, how did they sneak that in there? So you got to read the ingredients, but hydrate. Electrolytes is key as well if you want to add that in. Try a fasted workout in the morning. See how sharp your mind can be without eating. Even practice maybe a once a month, 24-hour fast, or if you want to slowly work up to something longer, 36, 48, that's awesome too, but make sure to hydrate. You can't live without water. Literally, water is the key. So hydrate, pay attention to the quality of your food, and then the timing. And then next week, we'll talk about a couple more free, easy things to do to maximize your energy and your health. Until next time, a giant aloha. Dr. Hemingway signing off. Until next time.